Okay, this is going to be lesson number 2. Hope you're working on lesson 1 as a start. The mandolin in a bluegrass band is primarily a rhythm instrument. It's an upbeat instrument, and you hear it. If you got a bum chink going on the guitar, the bass is playing on the bum, the guitar is emphasizing the bum but giving a little bit of a chink, and the mandolin is doing chop chords in the background on the chink on the second and fourth beat of a 4-beat measure. So chop chords, let's go over those. You can form a simple G by having open G, open D, second fret on the A string and third fret on the E string, but that's not very pleasing, and it doesn't give that percussive. I often think of the mandolin as being the snare drum in a bluegrass band because it's giving that choppy chunk to emphasize on the upbeat. So that's where you have to learn these chop chords, they're often called, and I'm going to show you. Really, there's several formations I use. The majority of what I do, though, is in 3 different formations. So the first one's fairly simple, and these are completely movable since they're closed chords. But the first one we're going to stick in G for now, and obviously, just like on the bass, I slide up 2 frets, I'm in A. So I'm going to do these all in the key of G. But the 1 chord, G chord, I don't know if you know Nashville numbering system, I use it quite a bit. 1 chord is the G chord, 4 chord is the C chord, and 5 chord is the D chord. If you already know that, I apologize for repeating it. But the 1 chord can be played in 2 different ways. It can be played with a 3-finger chord, which I do use quite a bit, and that 3-finger G is formed by middle finger on the 4th fret of the G string, your ring finger on the 5th fret of the D string, and your index finger on the 2nd fret of the A string, and you're deadening the high E string. You're not going to let it ring. So that's a simple chop chord, very simple chop chord, and believe me, I use that chop chord quite a bit, especially in transition. Another G that is more common is a 4-finger G. So it looks like that. You've probably seen it. You may already know it. I don't really have a feel for where you are at all on the mandolin, but I'm going to go ahead and do this chord thing. But leave your index finger where it is. Your ring finger stays where it was for the simple G. Your middle finger, though, comes to the E string and goes to the 3rd fret. That's a G note. So it forms that, and then your pinky reaches up to the 7th fret on the G string. So it's 4 fingers. Pinky, 7th fret G string, ring finger, 5th fret D string, index finger 2nd fret A string, and middle finger 3rd fret on the high E string on the E string. And again, when you so that's the 2nd chord. We'll go over the pattern, chunk pattern later, the picking pattern. So those are 2 of the 3 I'm going to show you. The last one is really sort of a derivation of this 4-finger G. If you take your hand, lift your pinky, and then move everything up a string, so now my ring finger's on the 5th fret of the G string, my index finger's on the 2nd fret of the D string, and my middle finger is on the 3rd fret of the A string. There's your 4 chord, your C chord. To get the 5 chord, just slide up 2 frets. There is another formation for the 5 chord that I'll show you later. I don't use it very much. I favor these 3-finger chords quite a bit, except for the G. I will use a 4-finger G. So now that you have those, a G or a G, those 2 forms, G or G, 3-finger, a C, and a D. You have those 3 chords. Right hand, I don't have this tilted very well, but that's alright, you can see it. The right hand and left hand, just like on the bass, are working harmoniously. They're working together, and it's a matter of the stroke and then take the pressure off the strings to deaden them. So there's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside that I wandered when I was a lad. And you don't have to do, you can kind of come to rest on the downbeat, you know, where the guitar is hitting the bass or where you're hitting the bass when you're playing, but you're really emphasizing that upbeat. You're really catching on the backside, which makes rhythm on the mandolin actually pretty nice, because you've got a quarter note to catch up with the rest of the group. The guitar player and the bass player have to be spot on because they're downbeat instruments. The mandolin being an upbeat instrument, you got an extra quarter measure, a quarter note to catch up. So that's that. So with that in mind, now let's go over one other thing. If I'm playing in the key of D, we already got the D, right? The D is just the C slid up 2 frets. If I'm playing in the key of D, that's my 1 chord. The 4 chord is a G, so I'm right back to a G. There's a well-beaten path on this old mountainside that I want. And to get the A chord or the 5 chord, I just slide the G up 2 frets. When I was a lad. So all of that said, with those 3 chord formations, you can play 99% of the bluegrass songs that there are, and I think every song that we play, well, other than there are a couple that have a couple minors in it. We'll go over minors later, but that'll get you started on chords. So what I'd suggest you do is take a song you know, doesn't matter what it is. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Just take a song and work on the chunks and the rhythm with something that you know, that you can get the melody in your head. So with that, we'll call it a lesson.